of their appointments converted, they would get 1 in 4 sales. So it all became a ratio, and I brought it down to maths at the end of the day, and that's what got us to our targets and helped us get the planning sorted. The second key factor I think that's majorly relevant is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. For us, I didn't invent the acquisition thing. I just copied someone else who did it. I got friends in the business that had done well acquiring other companies, and I saw them doing really well, and I thought, if they can do it, I can do it. So I just asked them how they did it. You'll find a successful business person is always only too happy to impart upon their history and their trail and how they achieved it. And you ask several people and you get your own ideas out of it, and you work from there. So you don't have to reinvent everything. Just in some cases you can just copy what other people have done and just do it slightly different or better. Third key factor is always have a unique. It's one thing jumping into a marketplace that's got loads of people doing the same thing, but you've got to set yourself apart from other people, whatever that unique is for you. And not only do you need a unique, but you've got to sell that unique. It's no good if you've got a unique, but no one knows what your unique is. So you've got to make sure you get that over to people. The fourth key factor, I'd say, is be versatile. Your company needs to be versatile. You need to change with the times. With most industries, business changes, technology changes, people's buying attitudes change, and you need to move with them. And if you can see the curve ahead of the game and you can see the change coming and you can make your company change ready for that, then you're going to make better out of the changing situation and make more money. That's it on my tips for today anyway. I just wanted to say we've got, if you got any more questions or anything, by all means put them in the chat. I'm more than happy to talk to people about their businesses and how we can help them. Or if you are interested in any of the products we do, that's great. One thing I do specialize in, from my background and knowledge, I see a lot of contracts, and I look at things like telephone bills, which is the worst thing for people. No one can work out a telephone bill. It's extremely complicated. And 75% of people's bills in business don't realise that they find that something on their bill they're being overcharged for. So I'm more than happy to do a free audit of anyone's bill, as if they just want me to find whether they're being overcharged or not. That's a throwaway one there. But that's enough from me. I'm Steve from UTL. Thanks for listening, and back to Gary.
Thank you very much for that, Steve. Has anybody got any questions for Steve right now? Just stick your hand up so we can, or do it online if you've got any right now. If you want to think about it, then please put them in the chat. Steve's details are in there, and of course you can contact us. My details are in there, and if Rachel's are not in there yet, I'm sure they'll be in there very soon. So Inayat, you got a question?
I've got a quick question, Gary.
Yeah.
Feel free to call me Raz. Obviously, when you were starting out, Steve, you went from sort of being self-employed, selling photocopies, working all day, trying to make ends meet. Did you have finances before you decided to take the leap on going self-employed, or did you? How did you?
No, not really. Being a normal, typical salesman, I'd always spent my money before I earned it. So I literally begged, borrow, and stole. So I didn't steal, but I begged, borrow. I literally got funding, overdraft. So speak to people like Gary. I borrowed money off different places, the bank and different places, put a business plan together, borrowed it. But I was quite strategic in how I did it. I managed to do pay companies when I was buying them. I would pay a certain amount up front, say only half up front, and the rest over a 12 or 24 month period. So I wasn't committing all my money up front. I managed to be able to pay quite a bit of it out of cash flow. So it was quite often it was done strategically, so we didn't have to spend loads of money up front. And we worked hard once we got them, and obviously cross-sold and made a lot of money quickly. Most of our companies we bought, we've got return on investment between 12 and 18 months. So, you know, if he hits those targets, you know, you're not spending too much money out.
Sure.
Hope that helped.
Just a follow-up question on that, Steve. Obviously, you created a 5-year plan to get to where you've got to now. What's your next 5-year plan? Are you going to be listed on a stock exchange?
No, I've got no intention of listing on a stock exchange. No, we've got more acquisitions. We've just got a plan of making more acquisitions and growing to roughly double the size we are now is the plan over the next 5 years. And then however old I'll be then, and then probably I'll look to take it a bit easier. And I've set up several sort of companies and key people within the company, so there's potential for other people to sort of buy shares and things off me and take more of a role. So that's the long-term plan.
Brilliant, interesting.
Okay, great. Thanks for that, Steve. And like Steve said, he started from scratch, and other people have done it as well. So there's no reason why, if you're a startup, because I don't think everybody's necessarily here is a startup, but if you are, it just shows what you can do. So listening to people like Steve is the best way to do it. Because one of the things that I found is, you know, Steve and I actually run businesses. Often you're listening to so-called experts that work for big banks or other big, large organizations. And, you know, some of them are pretty good, but, you know, there's no substitute for doing it yourself, because, you know what problems there can be, and you have to develop strategies to avoid them. So, you know, it's well worth taking this advice. Okay, thanks for that, Steve. I'm going to press on with the presentation. Apologies, a few people seem to be having connectivity issues today. We seem to be okay here, but some people have had one person just had 6 attempts to get in. I'm not quite sure what that might account for, a few less people today, but we'll see. I'm going to share the screen now and to carry on with my presentation. Okay, let's just start at the beginning. Like many other areas, there are a number of principal sources of funding for tech and other projects. These are central, regional, and local government, or the government funding. And obviously there's quite a bit out there at the moment because of COVID. And then there's debt, equity, and angel funding. So that's funding from investors, or funding via banks, bank loans, etc. That's the debt bit. Equity is other people investing, and angel funding is the same. Then you've got the lottery funds, National Lottery and other associated funds, which can provide some support. Some organisations, crowdfunding, which there are a lot of platforms out there. I'm going to point 1 or 2 out to you today. And then you've got the private sector funding and trusts. Many larger organisations like banks and others have got their own charitable trusts. And finally, you've got a range of non-profit funders, charities and the like. And I'm going to show you a few of those as well. So here are my top 7 funding sites. Again, I'm going to talk about some of these later, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. In fact, I'm going to talk about all of them. Innovate UK, which is a government-backed organisation which has got a lot of money. And then you've got UKRI, which is UK Regeneration and Investment, which has a range of tech and other funding opportunities on it. Then you've got Funding Central, which has just changed, it's morphed into something new called My Funding Central, but more on that later. Then you've got NESTA, the National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, which gets funding from a range of sources and also provides a number of digital tools that people can use. Then there's the Entrepreneur's Handbook, which is a very good resource anyway about entrepreneurship, but it's got 60 pages of grant funding in it. If you're a tech startup, then probably the best site, or one of the best sites to go to, is Granttree, which has all sorts of useful information and funding links on it, and indeed a few of their own. And then you've got the London Business Hub, finally, which is backed by the Mayor of London and has some funding opportunities, networking events, and a lot of other links to other projects and funding that it's involved in. So there, because one of the issues about funding is there's no one portal you can go to. You have to look in different places, because there's funding at national, regional, local, and a range of other areas and sectors, depending on what you're doing. This is UKRI, and they fund a range of tech projects. Innovate UK is effectively been merged with this organisation very recently, but I'm keeping the two websites out there for the time being. They focus on a range of digital services, and they say they support close collaboration with others to build an inclusive research and innovation system. What are they focusing on? Well, obviously digital services, and then digital services in relation to health, aging, climate change, and then a range of other challenge areas too. But I looked on that site yesterday. There's a lot of stuff on it. I'm still absorbing it, so well worth a look, that site. Just briefly, some stuff about the COVID-19 related slides. There's still some grants and support out there, and there's a few good sites that you can get information from. That's the government one, and then Innovate UK and the London Business Hub have both got a lot of information about COVID-19 related support for businesses. You should also try and look at your local authority website, because they've got some local grants for businesses on that. But you know, there's lots of terms and conditions on these things, so you have to work your way through the guidance on those. The London Business Hub, or the Growth Hub as it was originally called, is delivered by an organisation called LEAP, which is the London Economic and Partnership, which is an offshoot of the Mayor of London. There's as I said just earlier, there's quite a lot of stuff on that site, and I'm going to show you one or two of the programs that are there. You've still got just about enough time to apply for this, so that the deadline is Thursday. This is the second round of this, so it may come back again. This is to fund early stage or fully fund startup engineers, social enterprises, or a team with a great idea, and they want to address a number of challenges identified by the resilience partners and the Mayor of London, including topics around health, wealth, food insecurity, air quality, and more. Why apply? Because it can connect you with a lot of potential customers, investors, and partners to develop your project. You can test and validate your solutions with market leaders and get opportunities to secure up to £50,000, and that's grant funding. Business support, you get a lot of business support to help you develop your business, and including access to partner networks. And then of course you've got a raised profile. As I say, there's still time to apply, but there's only a couple of days left if you're interested in that. These are because they change quite often on this site, the stuff that they do. So the next two are examples of what they've done previously. You need to look at the site to see if they're still doing this with Google, but they run a program for startup support, including residency, a 12-week program to develop early stage startups, and a startup school. So, you know, business support like that is worth a significant amount of money if you had to pay for it. So, very interesting program there. Here is another one. This is called the Startup Accelerator. It's a 12-week part-time course to give participants the knowledge, skills, and confidence to launch a new business. And it includes one-to-one advice, workshops, mentoring, and an online resource hub. So, you know, a mix of things here, from grant funding for new and existing projects to a range of support. Move on now. Here is a site. It used to be called Funding Central. It's now called My Funding Central, because they've changed it. This is a good site, but it's now become a pay site unless you've got an organisation whose annual turnover is under £30,000. Then it's free, and the annual subscriptions raise from £50, which is for smaller organisations, to £300. This is a year for larger organisations. So well worth considering for some of you. You can have a quick look on the site, I think free of charge, but that's literally only started this week. Here is another one called Newable. They used to be called Greater London Enterprise, and they actually own a number of substantial property assets in London, like I believe the Oxo Tower is one of them, because they were seeded these by the Greater London Authority many years ago. And they work in a number of areas. They do a lot of work with tech businesses around money and investment support, advice, and commercial and flexible workspaces. So again, worth checking that site out. The next one is one I'd already mentioned earlier, which is Granttree, who give a range of support to businesses, and they give people advice about things like the Seed Enterprise Investment Scheme, which is a tax break for investors, and a range of others. They also put some stuff on via Innovation UK for the latest grants, and they do some analysis of that. And they have some innovation vouchers, amongst other things. But again, this site changes regularly, so you need to check it out for the latest initiatives. This is some of the other things that they've got links with. For example, one of them is the Silicon Valley Bank, where, you know, all the big tech businesses started, Apple and the rest of them, Microsoft. And they've got links with the Silicon Valley Bank, which apparently operates in the UK. As you can imagine, it focuses on tech businesses. And there's a range of other programs, including an interesting advanced funding program there at the bottom, which they help you to get an advance on research and development tax credits, because people can get tax rebates on some of these things, and they've got a program that helps you access that if you're entitled to it. Now, a few projects for women-led tech projects and initiatives. This is Angel Academe. They are an angel network, which means they help businesses start up with investment funding, and they're all mainly women investors, and they specialize in backing technology startups or tech businesses that are looking to expand in a number of areas, including financial technology, digital media, cyber security, education, tech, and various others. We've also got they've also got a range of investment. It starts at about £150,000, so it's quite big money, up to 1.5 million. Here's another one, Girl Geeks UK. Again, they have some similar programs, although they also do some mentoring and coaching as well, and linking with a few international organizations on issues around like business planning, and and other ones like the Intel Capital Diversity Fund, which is an investment fund that invests mainly in women and minority-led startups. So, there's a few good things on both of those two sites. Finally, the Innovate UK program for support for women who are underrepresented in tech businesses. This is a development program that you can get up to £50,000 on, as well as a bespoke program of coaching, mentoring, and innovation growth support. So again, all of those are well worth checking out. Here is another one. Finally, this is a loan fund, and obviously it's a loan and not a grant, so you have to repay it. Grant funding you don't have to repay. This is from an organisation called the Fredericks Foundation, and the main criteria for this is you've had to be turned down by a mainstream lender for a loan, and they have loans of up to £15,000 for startups and up to £35,000 to support growth. But as they say on TV adverts, terms and conditions apply to this. But again, Fredericks Foundation is a very reputable charity, and it's been around for many years. The next is charitable and trust funding. Again, a big area. These charitable trusts give out £4 to £5 billion a year in grant funding. Where do you check them out? Funding Central, that's one of the sites there. That's active until tomorrow. Then it changes to the one I put at the beginning, My Funding Central. So there's still 2 days to check that out. It's a free site at the moment, or at least for the next few days. Trustfunding.org.uk is a very good site, but that is a pay site. It's about £300 a year, I think, for an individual. But it gives you lots and lots of information. There are others, but if you want to go on some of our other presentations, I give a lot of details about those as well. So we're going to look at a range of other funding, including private sector, social investment, local funding, and crowdfunding. In terms of the private sector, there's a lot of big charities, big businesses that have charitable arms. For example, Barclays, Lloyds TSB, Nationwide, Santander, Body Shop, Big Issue, Virgin, and Cadbury's, to name but a few. Where do you get information about these? Well, there's a site at the bottom, Business in the Community. That's an interesting site, an organisation that was set up by Prince Charles many years ago. They link businesses with charities and non-profits. So obviously they've got quite a few businesses on board with that, including all of the big supermarkets, but many other businesses as well. The other site there is Company Giving, which is a good site as well, but that is a pay site again, so you need to check it out for the rates if you're interested in that. Here is another good source of information that I would recommend. I also do some work for the British Library as well in terms of their business and IP centre. Intellectual property is very important in relation to various digital and tech programs and many other businesses as well now. So you can get information on that, and they're actually running a startups program in most local libraries in South London. The only one they weren't doing it in until recently is Bromley, but that's going to start up soon. So Bexley, Lewisham, Greenwich, all the South East London boroughs, they've got a local program. If you look on their site, that will give you information about what they're offering, which is a considerable amount of support, advice, and tools to help your business develop. This is a non-profit making funder. I just wanted to point this out to you because this is the biggest funder in the UK, and they give out grants of over 700 million a year, and any type of organisation can apply to them, from sole trader to registered charity and everything in between, including private companies. What do they focus on? Health, research, and science, as you might imagine, because they are a drug company. You can develop a project to support and develop those areas through any means, including creative methodology like film, art, media, digital media, drama, animation, etc. That's not the only grant on their site. They've got grants ranging from £5,000 to £3 million. And the last time I looked, there was about 14 or 15 different programs. So that is well worth checking out. We now move on to crowdfunding. That's a new concept based on working with specific communities, organizations, and individuals to directly fund projects. So they make contributions or donations, and people pledge money as an individual or organization. How does it work? Well, these platforms, you don't have to pay any money up front usually, but they will take between 4 and 9% of what you raise. If you raise £10,000, they were taking between £400 and £900 from that, depending on the deal you reach with them. Crowdfunding, there's a lot of platforms around, and obviously you can set it up using the tools on their site, and they usually advise you to make a very short video of about 2 minutes. And you can also offer people rewards as well for contributing to your site. Obviously, you can't offer them cash because getting cash in is what it's all about. So how do you push this along? Because you've got to publicize it yourself, basically. So if you've got a community of influence, whatever that is, sports community, a business community, whatever, or it could be people who've got common bonds of any description, from health conditions to support for a particular project or cause like green technology, whatever. You need to develop a strategy to drive traffic towards the Pledger website, usually using social media, and people can pledge small or large amounts of money. There's probably the two of the best known sites, crowdfunder.co.uk and Kickstarter, which was originally arts and media. It is an American site, but now encompasses many other areas as well, because of course crowdfunding sites are international. This is something from Crowdfunder. They've got you need to check if this project is still there, but they managed to generate an extra 4 million in funding from partners. So what they're saying, it means that you could get an extra £20,000 for your project on top of the money raised from your individual crowdfunding, because they are match funding it plus on that particular program. So well worth looking at Crowdfunder for that. This is another one which is definitely still running. I got an email about it the other day, which is called Pay It Forward. Basically, the Mayor of London and various partners of the Mayor of London put in about £1.5 million already to match fund any funds that individual businesses raise. So if you raise to a maximum of £5,000 through crowdfunding, the Pay It Forward program will match that. So you can get up to £5,000. So if you raise 5,000, you get 5,000. If you raise 3, you can get another 3, up to £5,000. Good scheme that, and I know a number of people that have successfully raised money on that. But you do have to do some work on this. You'd have to develop a social media campaign and get information about your particular project out to people so that they can make a donation to it. We'll move on now. This is Nesta, National Endowment for Science, Technology and the Arts, who've got a range of interesting projects. They get money from government, the private sector and others and they're particularly interested in a number of areas. One is digital disruptors. You know, what can new tech projects and platforms do to change things? And they are willing to fund, if you can make a good case for it, organizations that want to do new and groundbreaking things. If you've got such an idea, the other areas they're focusing on is people powered change, how to help people like older people, younger people, and others to change things for the better. Another area, for obvious reasons, is global health, the pandemic and the potential for other pandemics. And the other is around thought leadership, around leadership strategies and development. But, you know, there are other areas. That's just a few that I picked up on that slide. Nesta's site is well worth checking out, and there's a lot of information on that site. Here is another one, the Social Tech Trust. Again, they fund projects and then for short periods, and then they stop, and then they fund other projects. So I haven't put any particular program on, but they do focus on 3 core areas, and this is social transformation by tech, communities, health, and wealth. So those are the areas that they're focusing on, and any social projects you can develop around those themes, they will give serious consideration to funding them. Here is another one. Again, I'm a big fan of this organization, the Paul Hamlin Foundation. They fund a number of things. Again, projects on their site are always time limited. So this is a recent one. You need to check the site to make sure these are still there, but there are others. This is a grant funding program of £5,000 for individual organizations, or £7,500 for collaborations. And they provide a range of support around that. But as I said, there are other programs on that particular site. If you're looking for investment funding for your project or business, particularly if it's tech related, one very good place to go is onto this site, the Business Funding Show. The last time they ran an event live, I went to it, Canary Wharf, and there was a lot of money in that room, I can tell you, from lots of different sources. So Newable, who I mentioned earlier, they fund some investment into that. Innovate UK, the FSE group, who I'm familiar with, who provide loan and equity funding for tech businesses and projects, amongst others. There are many others. There's a range of banks, there's the UK Stock Exchange, and a whole host of others that are involved in that. And if it runs live again, it may be worth some of you visiting that, but it's certainly running online. I think the event they had this year was done online. This is Innovate UK. They provide a range of support for businesses. One program that is around at the moment is called the Smart Grants program. If you've got a new tech idea, you can be a startup as well, or an established organization. You can scale it up, because that's what it's about, and get a return on investment. You can put in for a grant between 25,000 and £3 million, depending how big your organization is, or indeed how big your project is, or how small it is. Obviously, if it's a smaller project, you start at the lower end on that. If it's a bigger project, then you can go for more. But there are others on the Innovate UK site and the UK RI site as well, which I mentioned earlier. This is the final slide on this section. This is the Entrepreneur's Handbook, which I mentioned earlier, which is a very good resource for lots of other things about how to run your business. It's got a lot of information, but it also has 60 pages of grant funding throughout the UK. So that's very well worth checking out, and is a good resource for lots of other things. It's obviously online. This is one of the things that we do as well. It's a fundraising training pack, which helps you to write a bid. If you want to buy one of these, it's about 20 pages. You can see some of the pages on it there. You can get a download of it for £12. You'll get this in an email after this event today, or you can have a hard copy, which we'll send to you through the post. That is £18. As I mentioned earlier, you will get a summary copy of the slides from today, but if you want to buy the full 32 that we've just gone through, the cost for that is £12, and that details of that will be on the email as well. There's a few other interesting websites there, which I won't go through now, but they just add to all of the ones you've just seen. So I'll stop the share now, and I am happy to take any questions. I can't see any. Oh, sorry. And yeah, Raz, sorry.
Raz, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
So I'm fundraising for my sort of green tech company at the moment, and again, I'm certainly at concept stage. And some of them people that you've mentioned, I've kind of gone through, like Innovate UK, and I know there's grant writers as well that will help facilitate some of these awards. They've been telling me in relation to the Innovate UK and the Smart Grant that because of COVID, they're inundated on people asking for funding on them. So the success rate, which was around 46% about a couple of years ago, because they do it on a point system, has now gone up to 86. And I think the last one, the lowest was 86 a score. So to getting through some of these grant funding is very, very difficult. I don't know if you want to hear a little bit about what I'm trying to do or what I'm trying to achieve, but I mean,
yeah, if you want to, I'm quite happy to have a discussion with you offline, as it were,
yeah,
where we'd have more time. So if you just email me, I'll get back in touch with you, because I may be able to help you. But what you have to do with all of these, you're quite right, they do vary. The success rates do vary. You have to do your research on a number of funds and consider other things like crowdfunding as well, where you have a bit more of a direct lever on it there. But you know, there are people, well, this is what we do, there are other people, fundraising consultants out there. What we do is we do the research, the background research, you know, because what you've had today is a kind of overview in 30 slides. There's a lot more, you know, there's a lot of other funders, and tech is a kind of cross-cutting theme. If you're working in a particular sector, there will probably be funding in that particular sector potentially as well. For example, if you're working in well-being, there's a lot of well-being funders, you know, but the various digital agencies will fund tech well-being organizations like any other tech-based business. So that's where you have to focus on. You know, there's a range of funders, and then there are some funders out there that will fund any project they like, especially some charitable trust ones, you know. So it's a kind of varied field really, but I'm quite happy to talk to you offline about that, Raz.
that'd be really, really useful, Gary. And just your presentation there, I set my little startup up in January, and I've just been sort of, you know, knocking on doors, shaking my little tin around sort of everybody and anybody, and that's really comprehensive list and a really, really sexy presentation that you put together. You know,
thank you very much. I've never heard fundraising called sexy. I've heard it called a few other things, but
really cool. But that was really, really helpful, and you know, really clear, really succinct, and you know, I've got a massive list here now of all these people that I want to try and speak to. But no, that's really cool.
Yeah. Ironically, we've had a few tech problems today. I'm not from our end. I'm, you know, there's some connectivity issues somewhere. Maybe it's an area fault or something. Because I've had a few emails from people saying they can't connect. Well, obviously some can, because you're all on here today. So we would normally have a few more than this on. Anyway, thanks for that, Raz. Contact me, email me, and we'll talk offline about this. And if you need any cabling or other support, you've got Steve as well. So, you know, you've got a business in a box here at the moment. And then, as you will hear next, this is another vital resource, the Federation of Small Businesses. If you're not a member already, then you should consider doing so. Rachel, over to you.
Oh, thank you, Gary. Raz, you've got it again now, because obviously we spoke yesterday.
All right, okay.
Hence why it's here today.
I feel like I'm being well looked after today. Yesterday.
Right, bear with me. This time you get a presentation though, rather than just having to stare at me. So, okay, I think, Deborah, I think you've seen this before as well. I'm not sure. I think you've been on one of these, but so I'll run through it quickly because both of you.
I don't mind. It's good.
Cool. I'll try and make it a bit different each time, but who knows? Right, just to recap then, FSB's been going 47 years this year, so quite a while. It is the UK's largest representation for the UK's self-employed and small business owners, but we're a lobbying organisation, so we give all of you here a big voice. But it's also a membership organisation, so we've managed to secure an exclusive package of benefits that saves you money, gives you lots of useful help and advice, protects you, and also helps you grow your business through networking. As a member, you can get involved in the campaigning, but you don't have to. It's one of those, I quite often speak to people and they say, I haven't got time to be a member of FSB. You don't have to do anything. It's there in the background. But if you want to give up your time to get involved in the networking, the lobbying, you can. It is purely down to you. Campaigning side, there is always something going on. Now, it does depend what industry you work in, which bits will be of interest, but this just kind of summarises it. So there's loads of information on the website. There's a tab at the top that says campaigns. It will tell you some of the stuff that we're doing. I've put also, I don't know, it's blocked on mine, my face is covering it, but there's a number of different areas where we've had wins. But I think the biggest ones at the minute, or the ones that people are most interested in, are particularly around the pandemic. A lot of the grants that were awarded and came out and the loans, FSB were accredited with influencing, I suppose. You can't say that we had the final decision because we didn't, obviously, and there were lots of people that slipped through the gap, and we didn't stop campaigning, and we still haven't now. Unfortunately, I don't think there's necessarily going to be much movement on that, but who knows? We'll keep trying. In regards to the growing your business, I've mentioned the networking. We hold absolutely loads of networking opportunities. So I've just taken a screenshot off of the website. The 3 that you see there are more of your webinar style events, but we have networking opportunities. In London alone, we hold between 20 and 25 each month, but they're across the UK. So depending where you're based, you might want something more local, but you can actually go to any of them anywhere. Whilst they're online, you make the most of it. If your business isn't restricted to the area that you live or work, well, then get your name out there. Obviously, when they are face-to-face, which hopefully, if I have my way, they'll stay online, but I know that's not everybody's opinion. It's one of those. There will be charges for them when they're face-to-face, because it comes down to whether the venue charges and also if there's drinks or food put on. But as members, you would get it cheaper than a non-member. That just gives you an idea. So I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but it gives you an idea of all the different benefits that you get with FSB. There is about 20 of them, and each of them has different add-on bits in the background as well. So as you start to use the benefits, you start to sort of see what else is available to you. And of course, new ones are being added all the time, but I'll talk about the main ones today, which is what I tend to do when I'm speaking with anybody anyway, because it's the most common ones. So the first one is the legal side. We give our members 24/7, 365 days a year, free business legal advice. So whether it's that question that you've got that you think you know the answer to, but you don't want to ask your friends and family, you don't want to ask the guy down the pub, because if they get it wrong, it costs you money. So now you don't have to worry. You can literally speak to a solicitor, get the right answer, and it doesn't cost you a penny, bar the cost of your membership. But at the same time, if you've got something where actually you have got an issue, or you've got something where you need to seriously talk to a solicitor, you can. And of course, you haven't got that worry of how much is it going to cost, how many hours work are they going to put in, because it all mounts up, because solicitors aren't cheap. In London, typically, you look at about £250 an hour plus VAT. The cost of membership is cheaper than that, and you have got it free all year. But it's also got other areas that are linked to it. So you've got the legal hub. Now on there, I've actually haven't updated this. I keep saying you've got about 1,100 documents on the legal hub that you can access free of charge. Because of Brexit and the pandemic, there's now about 1,200 on there. So it's growing all the time. As they put together new ones, they will upload it to the legal hub, and they'll keep them updated for you. So you'll have PDF versions, which will be your facts and your guides, because they're the same for everybody, but you'll also have the Word documents that you can adapt them for yourself. And if you do need to tweak them, you've got the legal helpline as well. Saying that, if you do actually want the legal team to do it for you, they can. They will charge you for that, but they will do it at a preferential rate. And of course, the beauty of it is they wrote that original document, so they haven't got to review it, so it keeps the cost down. So any clauses or whatever, they'll be doing it at a preferential rate, so it's a lot lower than you would typically normally pay. So it's one, it really saves you money, and anybody that's had to use solicitors already knows the value of that one. That just gives you a snapshot. Again, you won't see this unless you're a member. When you log onto the portal, that is, I suppose, the entrance page to the legal hub. So it gives you an idea of some of the different sections that you have in there. Each of these will be broken down with additional questions that then helps you find the documents that you're after. I've put someone here that are always key ones: data protection and GDPR. It's a minefield. Some people find it easy to grasp. With Brexit, it's obviously changed again, so people are having to learn it all over again, but we offer you lots of support there. Debt recovery, especially in the type of industry that you're working. Unfortunately, small businesses are always hit with late payers, debtors. We can support you with that. And contracts and trading, there will be templates on there as well. You may need to adapt them because, of course, they are generic. They're there for every industry, but we can help you with that. We've also got the insurance side of things. So it doesn't matter whether you've got your insurances in place, FSB will act as an advice line for you. So if you ever need any help and support, if you actually don't know what insurances you need, they can give you a health check, talk you through it, they can quote you, but you can also go off and find it elsewhere or stick with your current insurer. It really doesn't matter. They are there to provide a service for you. Quite often than not, we will be cheaper because we will get preferential rates from a number of the big suppliers. But again, it doesn't mean you have to use us. They'll still just be there and support you. FSB Insurance also has a lot of things in the background. So there's a whole pack on business continuity planning. And also, if you offer credit to any of your customers, clients, they can also help you with a free trial with Credit Safe, but also get you discounts on that as well. So you can credit check your clients in advance. Debt recovery, I've touched on that already, but on the portal, you can access free first stage debt recovery letters. So you can fill it in. It looks like it's gone out from a solicitor. So if you have got clients that aren't paying your bills, they think you have actually instructed a solicitor when you haven't. Before the pandemic, I don't know the figures since, it was about 70% of late payers paid within 3 weeks of getting that letter. Who knows now, because obviously the businesses might not even be there anymore. But again, it comes down to finance at the minute, but I'm sure the new figures will come out at some time. But again, we can help you with it. Not everybody wants to do it themselves, because sometimes your time is more precious for you to work with your existing clients, and we'll chase the debtors. But we can help you through the whole of the process if you want to do it yourself. Who can join FSB? So FSB is not for just small businesses. It is for any businesses that are 0 to 249 employees. That might be across multiple businesses. It might be in one. You tend to find the smaller the business, they are more likely to become a member of FSB, because the services and the benefits that we offer, I suppose, are like those different departments that you get when you're employed that you can turn to. But whether you are working on your own or you've got a larger team, it doesn't matter. If it's 249 or lower, you're eligible to join. The only organisations that can't join are PLCs. So even charities, social enterprises, CICs, all of those are still eligible to join FSB. Membership is personal. So for example, if either of you decided to join, you personally would be a member of FSB, not the business. So if you did open another business as well, that would also be covered because it would fall within your membership. And if you do own your business with anybody else, you can actually access a discounted membership, which is known as an associate membership as well, which I can always talk to you separately if that's the case. And then cost, which I think obviously both of you have heard this before. If you joined FSB before the end of March, so by 23.59 tomorrow, I can offer you £30 off of this, but I've taken it out of this screen because obviously I don't want to sort of put the pressure on there. But the cost of membership starts from as little as £177 for the first year. It then goes down for the following year because you have the registration fee in year one. It would then go down to 147. That's based on 0 employees, and it then goes up depending on the number of employees you got. So then 1 to 4 would be £229 for the first year, would drop to £199 for the second, and up. I've put my contact details in the chat. I think both of you probably have them anyway, but feel free if you want to get in touch, find out more, got any questions, fire away. There you go. I did that a lot quicker than yesterday, didn't I, Raz?
Brilliant. It was just as flawless. It was, you know, very good and very useful. So once I've got a bit of coinage in my pocket from Gary and Steve, I'll certainly be signing up.
There you go. Thank you very much for that, Rachel. Has anybody got any questions for Rachel? Obviously, all her stuff is in, contact details are in the chat, and you're aware of it, so you can contact her outside. But well worth joining. Steve and I are members as well. So if there are no other questions, thank you for joining us today. And Steve and Rachel, I will see you tomorrow. Well, hopefully we'll have a few more online. And thank you all for joining us today. And I hope to see you all again soon. Who knows? We might even have a live event in person one of these days. That's coming. That's coming soon. Hopefully, if they can have European Championship football matches, I'm sure training events and networking will be on the agenda soon. So see you all soon. Take care and have a good afternoon. Bye-bye.
No, take care.
Bye.
Bye.